J.J. Abrams once said, "It's hard to deny the insane power of the opening scene from Jaws. There is something so utterly terrifying about that scene, and it sort of redefined the opening of a film. Suddenly, grabbing the audience by the throat became a standard storytelling device." Everyone has their favorite films and by extension their favorite opening scenes or sequences that, as Abrams says, always find a way to engage and bewilder from the get-go. It goes without saying that any medium designed to entertain or engage has to do so straight away. From Homer's Odyssey to Touch of Evil, artists of any build know how to throw the audience right into their works of art and set up their world without having to bore the audience with exposition. But what exactly makes a good opening scene in a film or television show? Well, there are a myriad of different techniques that one may adopt to produce an extravagant entree. These can include inciting setup to the plot, a cinematic approach, a character introduction, the ever important affirmation of tone, and an introduction to the thematic components that are rooted in the main controlling idea. Be careful though, as there are certainly some spoilers ahead. The most common setup that will occur in a film or television series opening is some direction concerning the plot. Moreover, this can take the form of our inciting incident that propels our plot and introduces the main drive of the film/television series. The most apparent of which can usually be found in the form of a mystery. To this end, 90s television darling, The X-Files, comes immediately to mind, as almost always it would begin its trek into the paranormal world through enticing the curious mind of the viewer. It does this through providing zero context around an extraordinary event or an illicit murder. Thus, it is clouded in ambiguity, and so our two favorite FBI agents are ready for investigating, as are we. This formula is similar to a lot of other murder mystery stories, with essential questions concerning the who, what, when, where, and why of the murder. In addition, even if our inciting incident doesn't occur right away, our opening scene will of course contain some sort of setup for the plot to unravel forthwith, whether that's the central plot or a subplot, as the inciting incident may need time to set up. For example, Casablanca's main inciting incident doesn't occur until the 30-minute mark, and instead begins by introducing the oppressive world of Casablanca and the state of our main character through several subplots, all of which are crucial for the inciting incident to carry any weight or significance. The word that comes to mind when discussing a film's opening is medias res, meaning we begin our story in the midst of the action itself. No unnecessary boring exposition for the audience to get bogged down in is required. Instead, the filmmaker can immediately grab the audience's eyes through cinematic techniques that absorb the audience right into the film. One of my favorite openings to any film is Sergio Leone's Once Upon a Time in the West, that provides an immediately immersive and suspenseful affair through the simplicity of three bandits awaiting their final confrontation. Leone draws out this scene to build suspense, mainly through the organic sound design of this desolate and isolated train station on the edge of the frontier. The rhythmic drum of the windmill, the constant drone of a fly, and the ticking clock of a water droplet combines a number of seemingly mundane sounds to create something truly unforgettable. The scene builds to a climax through Leone's classic dialogue, fantastic subtle performances, and methodical close-ups to create an uncompromising contrast between the agonizing, unsettling quiet to the sudden lurch of gunshots. Another example that is used quite often is bringing an exciting and exhilarating scene that occurs later in the piece to the opening. For example, the opening scene of Atlanta has our characters, which we will get to know later, immediately in peril under strange and dangerous circumstances, fitted with a classic cold open cliffhanger. The effect is twofold. It grabs the audience's attention immediately, and it creates some interest going forward, as the audience wants to now know how exactly these characters got to this point. The filmmaker grabs the audience's attention, but also does so with intriguing confidence. Most commonly, the opening scene/sequence can introduce our key characters, whether that takes the form of our protagonist or vice versa, our antagonist. Two examples here, The Dark Knight and Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark. The former introduces Heath Ledger's legendary depiction of the Joker, and the corresponding bank heist perfectly encapsulates this new Joker's characterization. He's a conniving, outlandish criminal with a flair for the dramatic and creating chaos. The opening is gripping throughout, complete with dynamic action beats and a satisfying plot twist that finds credence through character referencing dialogue. The Joker is not revealed outright, his reveal is given more weight through the build-up of this tumultuous heist. Likewise, the classic opening scene in Indiana Jones utilizes the same technique, by waiting a solid 3 minutes before the audience can hear that soon-to-be familiar whip crack. This trek through this mysterious, enigmatic forest highlights our adventuring hero's competence above all. His resolve and courage is contrasted with his companion's feebleness and greed. 3 separate beats highlight this. A haunting statue frightens one of the companions, but our mystery man marches on undeterred. A poisonous dart is quickly discerned by this mystery man, and without a word he pushes on, leaving the 2 companions to dawdle and examine it more closely to discover its properties. Finally, our mystery man examines a map in his due diligence. As like the companion, the audience peers over to see what this mysterious man is contemplating. Then his concentration is broken momentarily by his other greedy companion, and is subsequently dispatched with ease. This leaves us with perhaps one of the most iconic shots of a character reveal. The shadow unravels to reveal a competent, heroic adventurer. This is a case in point of great visual storytelling. Without having the titular character say a word, we already know everything about him we need to know. Both examples illustrate that visual storytelling is key when revealing characters. It's also crucial to let the audience know within the first couple of minutes what movie they're watching, and this is where tone comes into play. Openings can be extremely atmospheric, and can also incite and evoke a certain emotional response by the viewer, and certain settings or indeed periods can be better utilized to achieve such an effect. But the movie should, above all, showcase that the filmmaker understands their subject matter, and they should treat it in conjunction with the film's aspirations. The reboot of James Bond in 2006's Casino Royale is an excellent example where tone needs to be established to differentiate itself from the silly, Saturday morning-esque bravado Bonds of the past, namely Roger Moore and Sean Connery's tenures. Casino Royale opens with a brutal bloodbath, which showcases grounded and visceral violence, and by extension a more cold-blooded James Bond, now updated for modern audiences, although he still maintains his inclination for charismatic one-liners.
Yes. Considerably.
It's a similar tactic that is employed in Logan. The film opens by highlighting a broken and weakened Wolverine, and the sudden impact of the violence through the cinematography and choreography is a far cry away from other comic book movies that are much more lighthearted. These 2 films' openings illustrate that tone, and asserting that tone through, in this case, an uncompromised and unhindered violence is extremely useful to let the audience know what kind of ride they're in for. Will it be something that challenges them with a display of great injustices, or will it be something more lighthearted or romantic in nature? Or even a bizarre twist of the 2 to create a unique blend of absurdity. Nevertheless, the filmmaker should always know how they feel about their subject matter and communicate it as such. Lastly, introducing the coveted main controlling idea and our subsequent main thematic workings is of the utmost importance. After all, the audience has to be clued into what the film is all about. The Wire's opening is perhaps an extremely concise summation of The Wire's main controlling idea, the disillusionment of the American dream and its ultimate futility due to the limitation and weaknesses of the human condition. David Simon's character study, not of a singular character, but of a city in a perpetual state of decay, manages to explore how the American dream, with its enticement of a utopian life free of shackles, is shown to be unachievable because of institutions. The obstacle that many characters face is mainly the hypocrisy of these institutions and how each character is imprisoned by their respective department. The drug trade is shown to be an institution with its own agency and its own set of codes and rules that its players must adhere to. And this is exactly what is highlighted in the opening scene, through a casual conversation between the seemingly opposing forces of criminal and law enforcement. A story is revealed of a character named Snot, making the same mistake over and over again with his friends allowing it. Because after all, everyone deserves a chance to try to achieve what those first American settlers dreamed of on their little plot of freedom. Although the arbitrary rule of the American man decrees that all that will happen is that the cycle simply perpetuates. A film is nothing without an idea, and so quite often some semblance of that main controlling idea and its surrounding thematic framework will be introduced in the film/TV show's opening. Ultimately, a combination of these techniques will be utilized in order to set up the film's inner workings. Broadly speaking, all the great openings that I have provided an example of here are not just great because they immediately grab the audience by the throat, but also because they are a case in point of great visual storytelling and utilize the medium of the moving image to its utmost capacity to that end. The opening of a film that truly resonates is one that does not only grab the audience's attention, but one that captures the audience's imaginations.